go. Oh. Hey everybody, what's up? We are live. Welcome to Climbing the Ladder. I am your host, ChanmanV, and joining me as always is John Clark and Ben Nickel, Mr. Bitter. How's everybody doing?
It's a good day in Southern California. How are you guys?
John, how's it going over there in Nebraska, man?
It's actually about 75 and beautiful today.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's like rainy and crappy over here in Florida, so kind of envy you guys. But today we have the pleasure of having on Kevin van der Kooi. Van der Kooi, ROOTRotterdam, as other people know you as. How's it going, Kevin?
Very good. It's a little bit early for me since I like to play. I like to play at night, so I often go to bed very late. Certainly because Monday and Tuesday are my only days off in the week, right. So I go to bed pretty late, and I would say this is pretty early. But I'm hanging in there, and I'll recover.
It's like 3:30 on the East Coast, guys.
Exactly. Well, that's, the funny thing is, like, I stay up forever too, and then like last night I was actually watching your stream until I went to bed, so I knew you were up like really late.
Yeah, well, after that I stayed up like 4 more hours. So.
Oh, shit, man, it's crazy.
I had a short night, but no, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good.
Thanks for being on. You know, I think this is going to be a really fun show with Bitterdam together on CTL. It's going to be.
Kev, did you do your hair for the show?
Yes.
Awesome.
You're hating?
I'm not hating you. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It's more prep than any of us do, man.
Maybe you should take.
So I can't prep anything.
Dude, you got a nice shirt on at least, man. Jeez.
Just put this on. I'm wearing boxers.
Like overdressed. Well, joining us a little bit later will be David Ting, General Manager of IPL. He'll pop in here once, I think maybe in 15 minutes or so. So it'll be great to be talking to him too. But you know, to start things off, why don't we kind of jump into our kind of normal segment where we talk about misconceptions in the community. I think people haven't seen the show, or this is your first time tuning in. What we do on the show is we clear up misconceptions. We really talk about issues that are in the industry, and we really try to go in depth into them, and for the purpose of trying to help solve these issues. And damn, that keyboard is loud, dude.
Yeah, I'm just writing on Twitter that I'll be on the show.
Okay.
I won't chat anymore. No worries.
Okay, that's all good then.
I'm just helping you, man.
Hey, that's
okay,
cool.
man.
Sounds good. But yeah, let's start off with any kind of misconceptions, and in particular, since we have Kevin on and Ben, we've never really talked that much about any kind of misconceptions regarding casters and just casting in general, right? Anything there that you think that needs to be cleared up? The community just has wrong concerning you guys. Do they kind of have it wrong as to how much you guys work, or if I definitely have some questions, but I was just kind of started off there.
I'll let Ben take this one. Ben is very good at this.
I don't know, man. Kevin and I are pretty fortunate in that we've been successful. So, like, a lot of the misconceptions that would apply to casters, they apply to the guys that aren't us, or Tastosis or Day 9 or Apollo. Like we are the 1%. Kevin would probably take issue with people saying that casters are bad at StarCraft, because we do try to stay in pretty solid shape. So that's the one. But then that's something that does apply to everybody else and doesn't necessarily apply to us. So I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
No, I don't know. I think it's very hard to say there are misconceptions because everybody has their own opinion. So some people are always right and some people are wrong. In general, what people tell me as being a caster, I agree with most of it. I think I'm very lucky, but I also think that I worked pretty hard to get in the position where I am. I mean, just yesterday I was reading an interview that I gave in like 2005, and that was like already when I started being in the pro scene. So it's not like I started 3 months ago, put some videos on YouTube, and now I'm in a position where I am. I wouldn't really say it's like that. It's been a very long path, so I don't really think there's much luck involved when you've been around for so long. I guess you just kind of deserve it if you work hard enough. I think I worked really hard from time to time. I made my mistakes as everybody else, but I do think I work pretty hard in general.
Well, given that, why don't we just kind of lead into our first kind of a topic, which is, you were a Warcraft 3 professional player, right, Kevin? And
Yep.
you kind of transitioned into casting, and now that there's you joining Root, there's a little bit of talk of you maybe transitioning back to being a player. Why don't you talk us through that a little bit? Just starting with your Warcraft 3 professional career and how you transitioned into casting and the whole ESL gig and everything.
Okay. Well, it's a little long story. Ben is very good at telling long stories. I'm not that good, so I'm gonna try to show
Why do
you.
you always tease me about my stories, man? Okay, somebody will ask me to tell a story and Kevin will just roll his eyes. Here we go again.
Yeah, because Ben has like the same stories, which I could basically tell. I heard it so many times that I could tell the bitter stories in 20 seconds, but it still takes 6 minutes for it. Anyways.
Concise is good, man. Concise is good.
Yeah, I would say that like 2005 is when I started playing international tournaments. 2006 was probably my best year as Warcraft 3 player, where I won some international tournaments and just had a lot of success. In 2007 it went okay, but not great. I had one good finish in New York, but that was about it. And then 2008 there were WC3L finals, which was the biggest clan league, and it was really a super fun league hosted by the ESL. And the finals were in Germany. And back then, it was a very different scene than it is right now. Like casters, being a caster was not a thing to be proud of, or like the only people who were casters were basically people who were not good enough at the game. There was never anyone in a certain position that had fans or whatever. That was completely unheard of. So I was kind of talking with Dennis, who was one of the very few players who was actually good once at the game. And Dennis, I mean Take from Homestead Cup, who now became a caster. And he was a good friend of mine, so I was just joking. I was like, hey Dennis, you should let me cast the WC3L finals, because you don't know anything about this game. Then he said like, oh, do you want to cast? I was like, well, yeah, we could try. He's like, yeah, I'm going to ask my boss. And he asked the boss, and they said like, yeah, sure, this sounds like a good idea. So I drove to Cologne just together with my friends, and just for fun. I wouldn't get paid or anything. I just like want to sit there and cast the games a little bit. And then the people who were watching is like, oh yeah, it's really cool to listen to Rotterdam because he really knows a lot about the game. Well, which made sense because I played it for like 8 hours a day. So
Right.
if I didn't know a lot about the game, I would definitely be doing it wrong. That's how it started. And after that, they asked me a few times to cast the Intox 3 Masters events from the studios. And well, I was happy with that. I was like, yeah, sure, sounds fun, why not? And then I got asked several times by Quad V to cast the WCG World Cyber Games. And basically after that I just got asked for most Warcraft 3 tournaments because I was the only real Warcraft 3 caster out there. Of course I was still a player as well. Even in 2011 I still had a decent tournament in Korea. Don't ask me how I did that, but I finished like 4th place in some tournament.
Nice.
Which was kind of weird. Then StarCraft 2 came along, but first I was playing some Heroes of New World, so for like a split second I was wondering if I should continue playing Heroes of New World or go StarCraft 2, but then I was like, nah, I like RTS games much more than MOBA, so I went for StarCraft 2, and it was not my intention to transition as a shoutcaster because I never wanted to be a shoutcaster in a game which I was not good at, because it would feel very weird talking to an audience and telling people what I think a certain player should have done if I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. So that's why in the beta you would never see me cast a tournament of any game, because if I don't feel that I have some sort of insight at least, I'm not gonna cast anything. And then I've been around, I was playing for a little while, I was like top of my Master League division, but I was far from good. I was forgetting really a lot. And then again, everybody was, so there's no shame in that.
That's true.
And then Dennis hosted the very first Homestead Cup 1. And he's like, yeah, Kev, you have to come. I was like, yeah, but as well, I'm not good enough as a player, and I don't know anything about any race that's not Protoss, which back then was really the case. I only played Protoss games, I didn't play anything else. He's like, nah, just come, man, the community will love it, you have to come. And I was like, well, okay. Then I made a deal that I would go to Red's place for 3 days. And so I was training a little bit with Red for the tournament. That was his very first tournament under the Team Liquid Tech. And then we traveled to Homestead Cup 1 together. I did some commentary again. Some people liked it, some people who like didn't know me from Warcraft 3, they were like, who the hell is this guy, what is he doing? He's dumb. But in general, the feedback was pretty good. Then I heard that ESL was searching for a caster, that they were most likely already going to hire someone, and I said like, oh wow, that actually makes me kind of sad, because on that moment I didn't have a job nor a girlfriend, nor did I have anything to study, so I was like, I actually could have used this job. So I sent an email to the person I was in contact with who always hired me for the IEM events. And I said like, hey man, why don't you give me a chance? I thought we were buddies. And then he said like, oh, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I would like to do it. I'm gonna put a lot of time and effort into it. And that's how it all started. Then we had some trials, or at least we had some conversations on Skype. And then after I did a Warcraft 3 tournament in China, once more, like it was very different in Warcraft 3. I would go to China for 7 days, cast a tournament, and I wouldn't get paid. But I always did it just because I loved the game, and I thought it was an awesome experience anyway, going to China. So I was like, why not? Then I came back from China, and then I got a call from Sven, and he said that they would hire me. So that's how it all started.
Awesome. So what do you love? I mean, what do you guys, both of you guys, what do you really, really like about casting versus like playing? I mean, there's, I know some casters just enjoy, some casters just enjoy talking about the game and just, doing that just nonstop, and some actually just enjoy the attention you get from it. So what is it for you guys? I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, right? Some people just enjoy attention. So I mean, it's like their best way to get attention, right? Because becoming a pro gamer is very hard, right? So
I'm fabulous.
So what is it for you guys? That what is it that really thrills you about casting?
Ben can go first.
For me, it's being able to interact with the players the way that we do. Like we spent the last year traveling around the world, meeting every good player, talking to them, hanging out with them, having drinks with them, going to parties with them, and kind of connecting with those guys. So developing that connection to the pro scene is what I like most about it. Also, I'm kind of idealistic in this whole esports thing, so being able to be somebody that's trying to build on that is really kind of cool for me.
Kevin?
Okay. Well, I of course enjoyed it as well, but that's not really new for me since I was a pro player in Warcraft 3 for such a long time that I know most of these guys and I know how it is to hang out on pro gaming tournaments. What I personally enjoy most about being a caster is just sharing the excitement that things give me with a lot of people out there. If I see something that I really admire, if I see something really smart, I love to point it out. It makes me very sad when I watch the cast and I feel that players are making genius moves. But just because there's not a big fight going on doesn't mean that it's not spectacular. And it makes me sad when people miss that, and I try to catch that as much as possible. Not saying I never miss anything, because I definitely do, but I do think I catch a lot of the just strategical movement around the map as well. And yeah, I think that's what I like the most, just being able to share what I really love. I mean, I love watching StarCraft, but what I love the most is watching competitive StarCraft or a really high level StarCraft. And of course, it happens that I have to cast a lot of sort of bad games as well, not because the players are bad, but everyone plays bad now and then. Sometimes games are just one-sided. But having those really epic games and being able to share that with the community, I think that's the thing I like the most.
I see. And viewers just tuning in, we actually had the pleasure of having Kevin, Rotterdam on here to discuss, just his experience as a caster, and hopefully we'll get the chance to talk about some of the things that you've learned along the way. But actually, one thing I did forget when we started the show is that I wanted to let everybody know that we're doing a giveaway. We're doing a TT Esports Theron mouse giveaway that I just completely forgot about. So sorry if this is kind of abrupt, but yeah, we're going to be giving away this this mouse right here, guys. And the way you enter it is subscribe to youtube.com/ChanmanV. It's pretty much where all the show VODs are, and we'll pick somebody randomly at the end of the show to win that mouse. But getting back to to I guess some of your casting experience and both of you guys, one thing I want to ask you guys is, what do you a lot of people in the industry talk about when it comes to organizing tournaments, maybe not so much nowadays, but as much as it was a few months ago. People talked about how much the casters were being paid. Like, why are they getting paid so much? Compared to the player pool, the prize pool. And a lot of people were saying the reason is because the casters are really the consistent personalities that are that are prevalent in our community. So to have that kind of consistency across tournaments, that's what people come to see. A lot of people are talking about people come to see Day 9 or you guys or Taste. What do you guys think about that? Those kind of comments. I mean, do you think that's true, or do you think? Do you think that that's true?
I'll let Glenn go first.
No, man. You always let me go first.
Okay. I think it's very hard in this case because I can only talk about myself. I would love to be able to talk about everything, but like some things I'm just not supposed to talk about. Just because I know how much a certain caster might get paid for a tournament doesn't mean that I should just throw it out here. Like it's not done. I can't do that. To some degree, I do think so. If I've heard some of the past, like I can say that over one event, I've never got more than $1,250, and even that I think is a lot of money for 3 or 4 days work, and it's work that I absolutely love. And I thought that was really a lot, but I've known that like several casters they've earned a lot more than that. And I think it is sort of weird when, let's say, you host a big tournament and the first place finish is, I don't know, 7,000-8,000, and the casters get close to that. I don't know if that's true, but even if it's just like second place would be just as much as casters get paid, then I'm gonna have to agree with the players that I think that's wrong. Then again, there's always another side, and that is they definitely do represent a lot. I mean, a lot of people watch a certain tournament because of the casters, so the casters do have a lot of value, but I do not think that the caster should ever get more than any top 4 player finisher at a tournament. But there is one more mistake. I don't even think that's necessarily the mistake of the casters. I think it comes down a lot to the tournament organizers. If a tournament organizer approaches me and says like, "Hey Rotterdam, do you want to cast this tournament for $3,000?" I'm not gonna be like, "Nah, I'll do it for 1,200. Don't you stop it, you." I mean, I'm gonna say like, okay, and I think it's the same for players. If any player, like for instance, I love Carlo, but if let's say
Cloud.
Cloud, sorry. Cloud. But let's say if EG contacts Cloud right now and say like, "Hey Cloud, do you want to play for $10,000 a month?" I don't think that Cloud is going to say there, "No, I don't think I'm worth that." I mean, it's not necessarily the fault of the casters. They're getting paid a lot. If tournament organizers just like hand them these bags of money, I mean, what are they going to say? Are they going to say no? I don't think so. So I think to some degree, sometimes they might get paid a little bit too much on tournaments. But what is not true is that they don't work hard or that they don't deserve it or stuff like that. I mean, I think, yeah, Ben always says that you're worth what people want to pay for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if tournament organizers want to pay certain people that much of money or that amounts of money, then who are they to say no? I mean, a player is not going to say no either to a big salary, so why should a caster turn down a big offer for a weekend? That's my opinion.
Yeah, this is a topic that Kevin and I have discussed a lot in the past, and we've argued about it before. And I feel like in that response, Kevin is finally starting to change his answer a little bit more, because he used to like, whoa, how can I say it? It is silly sometimes when a caster is going to make more money than somebody that does well at a tournament. Like it's really silly. But you really can't put the fault on the caster. It's all about these event organizers feel like casters are one of the big draws to make people watch, and it's true, man. If you look at any event casted by Tastosis Day 9, those always have strong numbers, and then you sometimes have other events that don't have the same kind of guys broadcasting, and the numbers don't reflect that.
I mean,
I think.
Do you guys think it's possible to have an event in which the players completely outshine a large event, a large-scale event like an MLG event, in which, let's say, just as a test, they decided, since they always are experimenting, if they did some sort of event in which it was all about the players, and they brought in like 3 lesser-known casters, do you think it'd be as successful? I'm just curious what your thoughts might be on that.
You could run events with less known casters as long as they're good. The problem is, I don't really care what your opinion is of a group of casters or a particular caster. The guys that get paid to do to do these events, they're the best guys out there. And occasionally somebody new is going to come along and kind of climb up to the top. Caldor right now is kind of doing that. He's becoming very, very popular because of his work in Korea. But he's doing a good job, and that's what, at the end of the day, is gonna stand out. I mean, you couldn't take 3 unknown guys and run a big event and have it go very, very well, unless you took like This is hard to phrase. Like you know, Jason, who's the guy that did the casting for the GSL? What's his name? Anybody?
Or...
No. He's a Korean guy, professional broadcaster, but not a StarCraft guy.
I forget his name.
Okay.
No, I forget his name. I know you're talking about that.
Casting with Tasteless, with Tosis. Anyway, if you take like a professional broadcaster, like somebody with that awesome voice, like a Total Biscuit and that guy, whatever his name is, and put them on a cast with a superstar lineup of players, that'll go fine because they're enjoyable to listen to, even if they're not super knowledgeable about the game itself. But you're not going to be able to take just 3 random YouTube guys and run a successful event, because it's just the community, for whatever reason, the community tends to pitchfork,
Yeah.
I mean, has there been what's been a good example of a tournament that's been filled with a lot of the best players in the world that has done terribly, that hasn't had good casters? Because you can say that all those guys are brought to those events and they all do well, but you know what? All the best players are at those events too. So, has there been an event that's lacked in casting?
I can't really think of any huge event.
Not any sort of live huge event. I can't think of it either. And then of course that's all subjective too, because it just depends on what your idea of what a good caster is too. But I would agree that a lot of the casters that are at these events now are probably the best of the best pick from the litter, I guess. But there are definitely some good casters that are making a name for themselves. And going back to what Mr. Bitter says all the time, it takes work. And so I know a lot of these guys that are on their way up, they're always asking for gigs. They just want to be out there and get seen as much as possible, because that's it really is a little bit about how who you know, but then it is a lot about what you know and how you present it on stream. So I can imagine it's pretty difficult, just starting out casting. If I said, well, I just want to be a caster, this is great, and go through the motion, I don't think it would happen overnight. I don't care how great my voice would be, which it sucks, but if I did have like this awesome voice,
I'm right there.
You agree with me?
I know, I'm right there with you.
No, but I mean, you've still got instances of guys kind of coming from nowhere and having some awesome success. Frodan's another good example.
Yeah,
he was just doing community work in California and doing playhams, and now he's got a full-time gig at NASL, and I think in general people really like Frodan. So there's still opportunity for people that are coming up, but you've got to know the game. Frodan's he's a good player. You've got to speak well, or you've got to be exceptional in one and passable at the other. Like Total Biscuit is exceptional in the way that he speaks, and his game knowledge is acceptable as long as you put him with somebody else. And same.
Yeah, I mean, it's the original reason for the question that I asked you guys. The question is, I just feel like there's an interesting dynamic in our industry that's not the same for any of the other sporting industries. Like, where again, the casters take such a prominent role in the content. You know what I mean? Like, at least viewed by the tournament organizers. I agree with you guys. It's not the casters' fault that you guys are, that there's this kind of discrepancy in pay.
Something else that's actually kind of interesting, and this is a conversation I've just recently been having. We have a producer at the NASL who was one of the guys that basically built skateboarding. He was there. He was Tony Hawk's main producer for a long time. He worked on the X Games, and you had this same dynamic in that community when it was starting. There was a few broadcasters who were often viewed as being overpaid by the athletes, but this is when the whole thing was kind of in its infancy, and so as it matured, the athletes started making more money, and then they sort of developed a more profound respect for the broadcasters as they recognized the work and the effort that they had put in. And now in that industry, the athletes make more than the broadcasters do, but the broadcasters still do well. but basically, this conversation that we're having right now, I've had with our producer at the NASL, and he said, well, listen, this is common in I guess new, what can we call it?
Upcoming.
Broadcast media. It's kind of like new. I don't know. New esports is very akin to skateboarding or even like Ultimate Fighting, the UFC. Same thing there. In the UFC, you've got guys that are basically beating the shit out of their bodies for a $500 purse if they win their fight, and then a broadcaster might make $1,000 a night. As that was coming up, but now
they're the casters are what helped initially in both of those instances, and probably in StarCraft 2 as well, has helped basically brand the game and brand it as an esports.
Well, they brand the game and they make it appealing to people outside of the niche, right? Yeah. So like,
yeah, absolutely.
It might sound kind of silly, but me and Kevin can sit down with some whiskey or some vodka and cast some StarCraft games, and it'll be fun for somebody that doesn't know StarCraft, which is kind of what
that's the secret sauce, right?
It gives us a little bit of worth,
Do you see the shift though? I mean, I can sense it a little bit. I can see it a little bit in the way the organizers are doing things. I mean, I don't know if it's financially. They're like, oh, gee whiz, we paid $15,000 for this guy to be here last time. That's a lot of money that we could be saving by getting someone that's maybe a little lesser known. But do you think that there is a shift, not just in the way the organizers see things, but maybe in the way the community is looking at it, and they're starting to see players as more the key to successful events, or the key to esports as far as StarCraft 2 is concerned, or do you still think it's a lot about the casters?
Well, we are starting to see more events that don't have Tastosis in day 9, or even me and Kev. Like the last DreamHack was a pretty big success, a huge success, I should say. I should never undersell DreamHack, and that was that was Apollo and his group of guys, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they still had a good lineup. I mean, Apollo, In Control, Wolf.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I don't think those guys came for free.
Yeah, yeah. And they did the whole host thing with In Control too. That was obviously a really great success. I mean, that was a really smart idea too.
If I can say one more thing about the last thing before John asks his question, I do think it's absolutely ridiculous if any organization would ever pay 10 or 15K for a caster to come out. I think that's absurd, and that's a complete waste of money. Then I would 5 or 10 times rather see them fly out 5 Eastern European players who play their heart out on 24/7 on ladder all day and just don't have the sponsorship to go to a tournament. That casters get paid a certain amount for a weekend that some people still might find a lot. Let's say you work 3-4 days, you get 1,200 or you get 1,500. I think that's very acceptable. And that's even a lot of money. I would always be very happy if I get that. But I think when it gets higher than that you basically get a top 4 finish as caster, and all you have to do is sit in front of the camera, and you basically can't make mistakes unless you're a moron and say dumb stuff. That's just insane. This is really stupid. I would much rather see them fly out some unknown, or not unknown, but let's say good ladder players or guys who win Zotax or go for StarCraft 2 but don't have that pro tournament or the pro sponsorship yet. Because I really think there should be some sort of a bar. And then again, it's still not always the fault of the casters. If these tournament organizers just offer them a bag of money, they'll be like, okay, sounds pretty good.
Well, I mean, let's take it one step further. Instead of just the tournament organizers, I mean, are the tournament organizers making this decision based on the community's reaction? I mean, is it the community?
No, the tournament organizers are making the decision based on, hey, I want people to watch my event.
Right.
And that is reflective of the community. It's very, I mean, it's less, it may be a little bit less now than it was 6-8 months ago, but there was a time when if there was an event and certain guys weren't working it, that people would be like, fuck this, I'm not watching.
Yeah, it didn't seem legit. It didn't seem like the event was worth it or meant something. You could have had the best players in the world, and if you didn't have the caster at the time, it was like nobody noticed it.
But to be completely fair, sorry John, but
no,
since that
you're
time, more casters have kind of emerged that people have said, hey, I like listening to this guy. Wolf's gotten really popular recently. Apollo has always been very good, but has recently become like accepted by the community as being very, very good. We've talked about Caldor a little bit. Mouse Caleris is a guy that I guess we should mention, as he's sort of taken over for Kevin and me at the ESL. You know, these are all guys that that the community has in some way said, hey, I like listening to this guy. And then you've got instances of players casting. Everybody loves listening to Grubby cast, for instance.
No, he does a great job. But, all right. Well, why don't we transition to the next segment, which is, or next question, which is, you know, what kind of hard lessons have you learned along the way that you would kind of advise a up and coming caster that you know, maybe that you would have done differently, especially, you know, Kevin, that I don't know if y'all's path has been kind of different, I think. So I mean, I think
you've got a story that you should share here, Kev.
Which one?
Oh, but which one?
Which one?
The one where you didn't get to cast the final.
Oh no.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on, man. That's what we do on the show. We talk about things that aren't normally talked about.
No, as I already said, like before, I definitely made some mistakes in my casting career, and that's more because it was just all fun and games to me. I thought like, oh man, I'm living the life. It's cool. Wherever I went, I would go out and party, and I think like already, not even that long ago, but then on a certain moment, I mean, many people have seen me casting Go for StarCraft 2s on a Sunday, where I didn't look very fresh, certainly not in the start of the day. Like after a few hours, it would start to look better. But Cologne was a very easy city to go out. But on a certain moment, I just like realized that like going out or drinking on nights before you have to cast is really, really stupid. And I think I told Ben maybe 5-6 months ago that I'm not doing it anymore, and I don't think I've ever done it since then. Like I didn't drink a single beer or cocktail or whiskey on the night before I had to cast, or maybe one, but I would never go out and drink like 5, 6, 7. There are a few instances where I went out on the night before and I was always capable of casting, but definitely not that good. And I've realized that like I've casted even like a few live tournaments when I went out the night before, and I thought I was like holding it okay, like I'll be home at 2, it will be okay. But then I woke up the next morning, I was like, I don't think it was okay. And then I casted that tournament and I felt miserable, and then I come online and people are like, hey, Rotti, good cast, man. And I was like, no, like if that's a good cast, I can do 5 times as bad, 5 times as good. So I think I made a few mistakes like that, but I've back then already swore off drinking before night you have to cast, or days before you have to cast. And I think it's working out much better this way.
Yeah,
Not the story I was fishing for, but it's well said, Kev.
Yeah. So there's another one.
There's another one. Okay.
There's another story somewhere.
Not just one.
I'll save it for a rainy day.
Save it for the grass is always greener.
Yes.
How about you, Ben? Any kind of lessons learned you'd like to?
Well, I've learned that I definitely can't party as hard as Kevin can. He's owned me on a couple of occasions. I don't know. For me, it's always just been work hard, do what you can. I'm having a hard time speaking today. I think I'm distracted. Everybody around me is playing StarCraft. If I had advice to like an up-and-coming caster, I would say just work your ass off. But more than that, network yourself, go to events, and try to meet people. The reason I got the ESL job is because of Nazgul. And I met him at a couple of MLGs. I didn't even know that he had said anything to Carmack, but he suggested me to Carmack, said, this guy's really good, you should look at him. But the reason that he did that is because he knew me from me doing my show, from me casting a couple TL Opens, and from me shaking hands with him and saying, hey, Victor, I'm Mr. Bitter, I love Team Liquid, you're a true pillar of our community, and I respect what you do. Awesome. Developing those relationships is often more important than and sometimes it's sad to say it. The whole who you know thing is something that a lot of people will roll their eyes at, but that's something that you can influence. If you don't know somebody in the industry, then that's your fault for not putting yourself out there.
Yeah, a lot of people are so approachable in this industry. Like right now, I don't know if that's ever going to change, but yeah,
it'll change.
Yeah, it probably will change, unfortunately. But you know,
if we keep growing, then it'll change. If the industry stagnates, then this is what it's going to be like forever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see. Any other things, John?
Yeah, that was good. I just want to hear the dirty stories more later.
Exactly, right? Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is, do you guys like as casters? And I know Ben, you've kind of made light of you've made light of this before. Do you guys do any kind of training, for casting? Like, do you guys, I don't know, do any kind of, I don't want to say exercises, but
vocal warm-ups.
Yeah, well, not vocal warm-ups, but have you taken, I don't know, maybe a class on the side, like a speech class or something like that that's helped you guys with casting, or has it just been pretty natural for you guys? Because I know, some people work at it, right?
I'm pretty sure Kev's all talent.
Yeah, no, I've never did anything like that, and that's not because I would be necessarily against it. It's just didn't really have time for it. Ever since I started at ESL, I've been quite busy, and since I moved to the US, I've been really busy. I mean, I really want to take some English classes here, just attend some local college, and I don't know, like maybe for a few hours a week, but it's just been really hard every single day. I've been really busy, and the only 2 days I'm not busy right now, I'm also streaming some StarCraft because I want to show the community that I can play the game too. So it's really hard for me to do stuff like that on the side. But
yeah, there was a time when I was making time to like listen to other like sports broadcasts and listen to things that they do well, and listen to my own cast and to other people's casts, pick out things that I like and things that I don't like. Like something that always bugs me, which I used to do and I feel like I've become better at, is a lot of times there's a fight happening and you'll be talking about, Marines are fighting tanks, and then it always annoys me when the caster says, who's going to come out on top? Like they throw it away, they give it back to the other guy. They basically end their thought with a question because they don't know what's going to happen on screen. And I still do this sometimes, but I really try to eliminate it from my own broadcast. But like I'm always, I should say, there was a time when I was really listening to casts and things like that, looking for things that I could do better. Recently, it's not been. Well, I shouldn't even say recently. I haven't done that for a while because I've been focusing on other things. And what I often say when people ask me stuff like that is, if somebody comes to me and says, actually Kevin's called me out on this recently. If somebody comes to me and says, hey man, you're slipping a little bit, you need to do better, then that's when I'll reassess and go back and see where I can improve.
All right, cool.
Real quickly about that, do you guys ever take to heart what a lot of people will say sometimes? There's just going to be people that just dislike you guys, regardless of how knowledgeable you are, how well you sound on stream. Does it bother you sometimes that there are people out there that just continually will just berate you guys and just give you a bunch of shit? And
it only, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it only really bothers me if they dislike me for the wrong reasons. Like if someone just says like, hey, no offense, he seems like a nice guy, but I'm just not a fan of the way that he casts, or I'm not a fan of the way that he speaks, or I don't like his accent. I mean, yeah, whatever, I can't really change that. If that's the way it is, then it's sad, but I can live with that. But I hate it when, or I don't hate it, but it makes me kind of sad when people dislike me for the wrong reasons. Like, for instance, this Lone Star thing. When we were casting Lone Star Clash, when just me and Destiny were having fun on stream, and then suddenly like quite some people wrote like, oh wow, what a douchebag, how can he do this, oh my god, lost the fans forever, while like Destiny and me are like really cool with each other and we were just having some fun. And like I hate it when I'm misunderstood and people have a wrong image of me. Like that makes me kind of sad when they think that I'm something that I'm not. But I mean, if someone just doesn't like the way that I'm casting, that happens. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
Hey David,
Yes.
David just joined us.
Welcome,
Hey
David.
guys, sorry I'm really late. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
can hear you.
Awesome.
I gotta fix the screens real quick.
Okay.
Just we just been talking to Ben and Kevin about casters and their stories and lessons they've learned along the way.
Awesome. Apologize for being extremely late. On Mondays we have our exec meetings at IGN, and it typically runs a little bit really tight, so we ran really over today.
No problem. I'm just happy, happy you made it. And see if sorry guys, I'm trying to fix this.
No, that's okay.
These windows real quick.
Hey Kevin, last week I talked to Ben about putting together a casters tournament.
Oh,
would you be interested?
Yeah, of course. I would love to play. I would be very interested. I would play and cast it at the same time.
I would love to kick everybody's ass.
That would definitely be
is what he
interesting.
means.
Like everyone have their own stream and they're casting their own matches at the same time. That would be interesting. I was thinking of actually having Chris do it. So.
Oh, me? Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
You get to cast it.
Oh, great. But actually bringing that up, Kevin. So recently you've joined Root as a player, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about that. Talk to me about your motivations to start playing again. I mean, does it have to do with just validating yourself as a caster, or are you legitimately trying to play again?
Well, that's definitely one of the reasons, but that's not the main reason. I've said this before. I really love StarCraft, but the only thing I love much more is competitive and high-level StarCraft. So, I mean, I can watch all these games and I love it, and I love sharing excitement, and I love watching good guys play. But at the end of the day, I'm still like, I love to compete too, and I'm pretty good at the game, but I felt that I didn't really have a chance to show it. Like an online tournament doesn't really matter. So when I saw this opportunity come along, I thought it would have been awesome to train with the guys, train with Cats, train with Destiny, with Vibe, who I think is a very good player, and maybe play some Clan Wars with them. I mean, that's just all I want to do. I love the adrenaline of competing, like whenever I have a big game and I know people are going to watch me play instead of me watching someone else play and telling the people what's going to happen. I think that's just a super awesome opportunity, and I just want to work hard, and hopefully I can be valuable in some Clan Wars. And I'm definitely going to play some big tournaments too, but I don't expect myself to lift some big trophies soon. That's not really the case. I mean, I'm still a caster, and I'm not going to quit being so, because I really love my life right now. But I mean, I just want to have the rush of competing again, that's all. And I want to show that I still have what it takes to compete on a pretty high level.
That's awesome. No, I love it, man. That's good stuff. And hopefully, you will be able to do that, and we'll get to see you a lot more. So you're gonna be playing in Anaheim, or?
Yes, most likely. It depends a little bit, since I might have some visa issues, so I might get deported from that great country of yours.
Kick your ass out.
But nah, I think it's gonna be fine. So I should be there. Yes, I should be there.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure the fans will just. Oh man, fans will definitely be eager to watch you there. I think. Ben, if you had the choice of having his accent or not, would you take it?
No, man. Are you kidding me? I mean, he's a sexy man, but...
Did you hate his accent?
No, not at all. I love Kev's accent. I just... it would be against the... it would be un-American of me to adopt an accent.
Very true. All right, David. Now, since you're on the show, might as well, start some of the topics that were geared more towards, event organizing and IPL.
Sure.
Kind of wanted to start off by, kind of having you talk through a little bit of, just the first 4 IPLs and maybe some lessons you've learned along the way, and how it's kind of grown to be this huge event that one of my favorite events every year.
Great. So the biggest thing I learned is how difficult it is to run events, especially if you want to do it at a very high quality. So our first 2 events are online, virtual tournaments. So we learned that part of the business pretty well and debugged that process. So that's something we're very comfortable with. But live events, there's so many things that can go wrong because you're not in your own facility. You're working with mostly rented equipment with expanded staff, with a lot of people you don't know how to, you don't have a long working history with. So it is really difficult to, within a few days, build that chemistry, launch, work like 12 to 16 hours that's required per day, that's required to run a good event and do it. So I think we're very lucky on IPL 3 and 4 that it ran, mostly okay. And, we're going to continue to learn. Like IPL 4, we believe it's a good event. But we have like about a 52-page document with all the things that we could have done better. And those are things that we're taking away and try to improve on for IPL 5.
How many times is Rotterdam and Mr. Bitter in that 52-page document?
Or the lack of those two, right?
Yeah, lack of those two were in the document.
Awesome. When it comes to the, obviously in the IPLs, I feel like the games you've included have kind of increased along the way, and this last one obviously included games like League of Legends. When you're picking games, what is the metric you use to qualify the game that you choose? I mean, is it purely a kind of a viewer standpoint? Like LoL obviously had a bunch of viewers, and that from that standpoint, or it's a popular game, or do you use this another metric that maybe we don't know about?
So a lot of it is really how popular the game is to the IGN audience. So the next set of games are going to be skewed very much there that way. So for example, I started with StarCraft 2, and that was my personal favorite and first choice. From that point forth, let's use League of Legends for example. When I picked League of Legends, it wasn't a clear runaway winner like it is today. So Valve just ran the Dota 2 beta tournament for $1 million, and so the right pick at that point, if you want to go with the biggest community, it was probably S2 Games, Han, Heroes of New Earth, or Dota 2. Everybody was jumping on the Dota 2 bandwagon, and I had a chance to talk to all three teams, and I felt like the Riot team was most positioned for success back at like middle part last year. And that's why we picked them. And those are the things that the viewers won't see is that corporate exchange, like dealing with people who handle the esports organization, for each one of these publishers. Having their full support is extremely critical for the game to be successful as an esport. So if you look at League of Legends, for example, it did not take 10 years for League of Legends to build out to be the #1 esports game today. It's because the team there really did their homework, and they did everything they can to support the community, the players, as well as tournament organizers like myself to make it a viable option. So so for future games that we pick, we're looking for that. And luckily, because esports is now a growing phenomenon, that discussion is becoming easier and easier with publisher rather than in the past.
David, do you think though that money has something to do with it? I mean, if S2 Games came to you regarding Han and said, okay, we're ready to compete with League of Legends, we think our game's better and we want it to be just as big as League of Legends, and here's 50 grand that we want to pay IPL to put out there to run an event, and we'll pay you 10 and put 40 into a prize pool. Does that make a difference in your decision to choose a game?
Absolutely. It definitely, as you know, all you guys run businesses. If somebody can take costs away from your equation and lowers your risk exposure for adopting new games, definitely weighs in the equation. But what is also more important is how big is that franchise going to grow into, right? So taking costs away is definitely important, but also projecting how much, how many viewers will love this game, or like the lifespan of this franchise. Those are important decisions as well. Like, for example, if a game sucks and they come to you and say, hey, take this game and we'll give you a bag of money for this, we'll definitely not do that, because the key here is that it's I think it dilutes a brand as well as destroy the brand over time if you do that at all or much at all.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. That's definitely something I can see IPL wouldn't do, but there are definitely organizations that will run large-scale events, hype it like it's the next greatest esport in the world, and it's only because the developers or publishers actually paid to have that game be a part of whatever circuit or event that it was, and I guess it just baffles me sometimes that and the community will jump on the bandwagon like, oh, World of Tanks is like the greatest game in the world, and ESL does that, by the way. So they think, World of Tanks is this great game because the developers paid a crap ton of money.
I was waiting for somebody to bring up World of Tanks.
Yeah, to get this game on, the IEM, Extreme Masters or whatever. And in reality, the game is horrible.
That's painful.
And the community for it is small. But because somebody was willing to pay a lot of money, it becomes on the circuit.
Is the community small though? I hear they've got like 1 million Russians playing that game.
They probably, to be honest, actually they probably do have a lot of money, a lot of people playing that game.
Yeah. The worst thing is that ESL has Joe Miller, and he makes every game sound really good. So it doesn't matter what game you give to Joe, because Joe will nail it, and he will give you a perfect broadcast, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, this is not bad. Maybe we should try it out."
Oh, I tried it out. It is bad.
Yeah. Without Joe Miller, it's suddenly not as good anymore.
Yeah, but what's funny is I went right into the same hype. Somebody made this game like, wow, this is the greatest game. This is gonna be awesome, and then. I fell right into it, and the game was horrible.
Oh, it was painful for me to watch, though. Yeah. I must have had the volume down, though, so I couldn't hear Joe.
But these are things that have been done in the past. I mean, CPL did it. A lot of companies, a lot of organizations have done that, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just that that's definitely something that weighs in the decision for a large organization like MLG or IPL to put a game on the circuit. And maybe what Riot did was they jumped all over it from the very beginning, and now it's paid off. And maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of people will tell you that Han is a much better game than League of Legends. But League of Legends appeals to a larger crowd. The community behind it is supportive, and the guys over at Riot have just done an excellent job at marketing their game and making it to what it is today.
If I could say one thing about that, John, I think it's still kind of weird, because everybody says that Riot did everything perfect, and I've never really played LoL. I played it maybe like 2 or 3 games, and I thought it was really bad. I did play a lot of Han, like really a lot. But for me, it seems that Han did a lot more things right from me as a wannabe competitive player than Riot did. Like, they always had the replays. You could download every single ladder replay online. The statistics were amazing. You could watch replays whenever you want. There was no problem with tournament servers whatsoever. So could you explain to me why, which things that Riot did so much better than S2 Games?
Well, it's not that they did better. It's just they did more of it. I don't think they necessarily did it better either. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, and we've been running.
I think it's just the disconnect between the casual player and the hardcore player, man. Yeah, there's 100,000 casual guys that just want to be able to click a button and play, versus the every 10 hardcore guys that want to be super competitive. It's a rare breed.
One of the things that is important from us is that when you look at Riot, it's not only about the game engine. It's about the reach to their community, their social influence, like the number of followers, their YouTube presence, their forum and wiki presence. So they have so much reach to like 30 million people, right? So even if the game is not as good as Han, having that reach will make that game better and more relevant to the mainstream. So when we do esports, I think really making it popular with the fans is important, because I think that if you basically cut the esport world to the esport world as it exists today, it will be too small of a fan base for it to be mainstream, right? So we have to basically bring the casual audience in. And this is where, when you pick games, when you look at it, what Riot did right is actually things outside of the game. I have not seen a publisher as savvy as them outside of the States, actually inside the States. Like outside of the States is actually a norm for, companies in Asia to do things like this with the free-to-play. But in the States, they're definitely leading the pack on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Riot, when they first launched League of Legends, they didn't have esports on their mind, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so the thing is they've had to go through things like re-architecturing a lot of the game itself, right, to actually create more of an esports infrastructure or framework or platform, or however you want to call it. And but the thing is their commitment is just that's what it is. That's what it's about. They're just they're more committed than probably any other company right now. I think maybe outside of Blizzard, I don't know, but. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that's really commendable upon League of Legends. That's why they're, starting to get the success they're getting now, at least from the esports standpoint.
So I apologize. I have a time crunch today.
Sure.
I just came back from Asia. There's a bunch of work kind of lined up for me. I have about 10 more minutes.
Okay, sure.
So
Fine.
Could we just? I want to ask the question about caster pay to David, because we've heard from players, we've heard from casters, but we haven't really heard from event organizers. So, David,
the what?
It's a hot topic in the community. Some people say StarCraft casters make too much money. Sometimes players get upset about it. I'd like to know what is your stance on how much you pay a broadcaster and why or why not.
So let me just there's a reason why some of the most popular casters are not on the IPL circuit, and it's just purely economics. So there's a lot of not Rotterdam, but Rotterdam actually.
Yeah, you just don't like me. Okay, I get it.
No, we just didn't figure out a way to fit you in. But there's a couple of really big name ones that do command a lot of money. And for an economics standpoint, if I have to basically give, a good portion of my entire ticket revenue to basically have the caster for my tournament, the economics just don't make sense, right? So I think that I definitely think that there's a reason for people to feel that way. But then, the tournaments right now, there's so many tournaments, and they all want to one-up each other, right? So everybody wants to get the day 9s, right? Everybody wants to get the tastosis. And then, it's a basic economics, right? It's supply and demand, right? So I think there's enough demand there for the price point to be that high for the, couple of the top-tier casters. But I do believe that, with, Rotterdam as a great example, people will find that when you have casters that are lesser known, in comparison, I hope that you don't mind, Kevin, that I call you like lesser known than say Day 9 or say
I can accept it.
Okay, or Tastosis, that they're gonna enjoy the cast equally, and and then I think the viewerships is showing that as well. That there's additional casters coming in the scene, doing a great job, bringing additional points of view that make watching the game interesting, and the viewers are going there. I think that the pay is going to come down, but again, this is just a wild speculation of where it's going to go. And again, it's economics, right? I don't have any resentment toward people commanding market price, because that's what they can do if there's enough demand for it.
Let's see. The one thing I wanted to get in just before, obviously you're going to have to go in a sec, is I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Kespa and MLG exclusivity thing. And just, I mean, does that, I guess I'll just be blunt with it, does that scare you?
No, I don't think that scares me as much as people think it would, right? So if you look at two number ones working together, right? So, MLG's been in the esports business in the States for a long, long time. Kespa as being number one in StarCraft for a very long time in Korea. Both of them are, running things the way they want to run it, and they start to form a partnership. It takes a long time for that, kind of like a middle ground to be found. And that middle ground is something that, needs to be negotiated carefully. So, I'm more of a wait and see attitude on this one. I think it sounds great. I think it is very impressive. I think MLG did their homework, and I think Kespa did their homework. It's a natural partnership. It's really, until I see their finished product, I'm not going to comment on it, right? So I think it definitely, grabs the headline, and then it really, I'm really want to see, what impact it will make. So let's actually take Flash, for example, right? Everybody's watching, how Flash is playing on StarCraft 2, right? So he's going through the learning curve like everybody else is, because, Flash has spent probably countless thousands and thousands of hours perfecting Brew War. StarCraft 2 is a very different game. So he needs to go through the growing pains like everybody else. And by the time he's done, maybe people will find that the delta between his play and other people's play is not as big as other people have projected, right? So this is, again, until you see the finished product, you really can't comment on it.
Okay, yeah. I think a lot of us here actually agree with that. I think we're both all in kind of a wait and see kind of period, and I guess overall, if it just grows in general, I think I have it kind of I think a lot of people end up benefiting from it, including IPL, right? If just overall the industry grows globally, so.
Yeah. So one thing I would actually talk about that is concerning me is number of people playing StarCraft 2. I think it's dropping really, really rapidly.
Yep.
I think that's actually the thing I'm most worried about for a healthy StarCraft 2 scene is the number of users log in playing the game. It's diminished quite a bit. I believe the aggregate view count, if we just look at it casually, has dropped significantly from the peak. Maybe it's a Diablo 3 effect. Maybe it's something else, but that's the thing that I would be more worried about than, Kespa and MLG working together. And I hope that there's magic going to be happening over there too, because if it can kindle interest in Asia. Just came back from Asia. I went to the internet cafes to watch what they're playing. No one is playing StarCraft 2, literally. I went to 3 cafes. Most people are playing Diablo 3, as expected. Some people are playing Brew War, League of Legends, and I haven't found anybody playing StarCraft 2. And that really bothers me. And that's something that we should actually watch, because if you don't have the players, then you don't really have a viable long-term community.
Very true.
Right, and do you think that's dependent upon just product life, just the product development cycle, or, given that Blizzard relies on releases and the revenue is generated in that sense, so when Heart of the Swarm comes out, obviously there'll be some there'll be a spike there, right? Whenever Heart of the Swarm comes out, but do you think that model can still work in the long term for esports, or do you think it should be more like a Riot one game, different revenue model where it's like in-game or in-app type of thing?
I think free-to-play is something that's going to be here, and there will be more and more better games free-to-play. And I think esports naturally, you look at some of the best players in the world are guys or kids who cannot afford to buy a copy of the game, right? So, $60 or $50 US doesn't look that much for us. But for somebody in Asia, that could be almost like a week worth of income, right?
Yeah.
So things like this, so you're basically cutting off the number of actual players for the game. It really just cuts off the popularity of the game or accessibility to the game over time. And I think the big drop off between StarCraft 2 and StarCraft versus StarCraft is played still more in Asia, is basically the DRM associated with it. So if you go to Asia, because people can't afford to buy a copy of the game, so what they need to do is go to an internet cafe, and actually the cafe pays Blizzard basically a section of time, $1 associated with the number of minutes played for the game. So the key here is again accessibility, right? So if you have to pay this much, it basically makes it economically not at par with other games that are out there.
I see. Okay, David. Well, I think you're probably got to get going, right? So,
and then we could schedule something for the near future. But definitely a pleasure talking to all of you. And Kevin, hope to see you at this IPL event in the near future.
Hope so too. Sounds good.
Player caster, right?
Just don't do it in Vegas anymore. That's really bad for my wallet.
Oh, really? You're not a professional gambler? I figured that you're good at everything that you do.
He's good at losing. You kidding me? Professional gamblers are great at losing money.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll have to figure out a different venue. Well, thanks, guys.
Sounds amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
All right.
Yep. See ya.
And now you get to fix the cams again.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, I wanted to comment on something he said. I have somebody that volunteers for CSN that does a lot with numbers, and actually it's Alan LaFleur, and he has a blog called Esports Business, and he actually touched on the fact that the number of users that are actually playing the game have gone down, and to me that was definitely something that was concerning too. But for me, I saw it as and I considered the whole free-to-play thing and stuff like that, but the numbers were there. Why did they go away? What happened? And then I go back to what Kevin was saying about, he just wanted that rush, that competitive rush. And I think, for me at least, from what I see as an organizer and somebody who's been in esports for a long time, is that I just see that we've gotten to a point where it's all about the top events. It's all about the top tier, the big hype, and there's nothing against that. I mean, it's all about the IPLs and things like that. But something that NASL is doing that that I think should have been done from the very beginning, and maybe even to a greater degree, like lower tiered leagues, is we need to find a way that that more and more players can be a part of this competitive process. Because if it's just about a game, I mean, we got to admit esports is all about competition, but if it's just about a game, then they're going to move on. They're going to find a new game. Diablo 3 comes out and they're going to play that one. But if the community, the larger the competitive base is, I think the greater the numbers will stick. The greater numbers you'll have, and the longer they'll stick around. So for me, that's definitely something I see. Definitely is concerning. But I think there's definitely ways that we can improve on that and get more people playing.
If I can say one thing about that, I really love Blizzard, and I think they make amazing games. But I really think they kind of dropped the ball on Battle.net 2.0. Well, I guess it's an understatement for a lot of people, but I'm trying to keep it nice and clean. Because what Warcraft 3 kept along, or what the fact that Warcraft 3 stayed along on, like, let's say like a regular level, or like not a very competitive level, but just for your average user who loves to play a little bit of Warcraft 3, were all those automated tournaments. Every single day there was a Battle.net tournament on your server. Starts at 6 p.m. You can sign in. All you have to do is just click, and you're gonna play 7 placement games. And if you make it to the playoffs, you play like a little playoff bracket, and you can download those replays online. It was completely generated, like fully automatic. Or automated, but it was awesome. It was really fun to play. It was an excellent way for new guys to make their way into the scene, because there were still pro players playing it, but there was no money, so there wasn't like that much. And if you would have that in StarCraft 2 right now, let's say a 1-on-1 tournament, then tomorrow there's going to be a 2-on-2 tournament, it would be so much better. And I think they are going to do that for Heart of the Swarm. At least I've read some things about it, and I really think that's going to help the community so extremely much, and it's going to give it such a big boost.
A lot of things about Battle.net have made it feel less communal. It's like it's almost like StarCraft's a single-player game. You log on, you hit a button, you play a game, and then you do it again. I mean, and something that really bugs me is, like, look at how good Battle.net is for Diablo. Right? You log on, you join your friend's game, you're talking to somebody, you've got the auction house, you've got the ways of interacting. There's still no chat rooms, which is a little bit annoying. Do you really want chat rooms? it just doesn't feel like a multiplayer experience, and that's one of the things that's annoying.
Yeah, and that's so true, and that makes me think of the differences between like Xbox and PS3. I know we're not really talking console, but that is a perfect example of it. I mean, with Xbox 3, you have this feeling like you're part of the community. There's chat. It's a lot easier to get a hold of people. You don't, like you said, you don't feel like you're just logging in, playing a game, and playing a game, and playing a game. I mean, you can do that on your own, and maybe that's the practice part of it, but you really want to feel like there's this competitive community, this community of a bunch of players that want to continue to play the game, and I can definitely see that that's becoming a problem with StarCraft 2. There's just this disconnect, I guess. I mean, it's either the big boys, it's the top players, and it's the process of getting to the top events, or it's you just play but you feel disconnected, and then a new game comes out and it kind of draws your attention away from StarCraft 2, and then they get sucked away. I mean, I've talked to people in the last couple weeks that have said, "Man, I haven't touched StarCraft in months. I might get back into it, or I'm just helping with this event. Even though I haven't touched StarCraft in a while." I don't know how we get them back in. I mean,
but again, I mean that kind of gets back to what I was saying about just the product life cycle or the game life cycle. I mean, that's all of us here are hardcores, right? And even us, even people like us who probably stick with the game longer than the average person. I mean, we eventually will end up like going to Diablo or going to a different game, and doing that thing. No matter how many kind of like smaller terms you create, John, I feel like right now the culture is like, yeah, the next new game. I mean, we're looking for progression in gaming, right? And esports is one of those things that's like trying to hold it to a single game or a single sport, quote unquote sport, right?
But StarCraft 2 hasn't been around very long. I mean, that's what's frustrating. It's only been, what, 2 years now that it's been considered an esport, I guess.
No, but you're right. But like, look how many Call of Duties come out every year. Look how many,
Yeah.
you know, like EA comes out with a new NBA 2K or Madden every year.
Mm-hmm.
So that like,
FIFA is another one.
Yeah.
Like most
Yeah.
played game.
exactly.
Yeah, but I guess in FIFA it's a little bit different. The game's not going to change, you know, that much. It's just an upgrade to the game. But
it's like,
it's just, I want to see StarCraft 2 continue and just grow and continue to be this great esport. And maybe it's because, you know, I'm a huge Quake player and it's been around for, you know, 13 years. But it's definitely not at the level that StarCraft 2 is now. I mean, I would say 2 years ago it was, but I mean, it went on for 6 years like that.
But look at it. I mean, ID, or I think I always call it id for some reason. But
Yeah,
look at
I do
ID
too.
Software. I mean, they only had one product. Like they had one product that they just, you know, they just made last for a long time. You know, the problem with Blizzard is that they have like 3 or 4 very huge brands, titles that they have to come out with new releases. You know, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, and World of Warcraft now, right? They have to come out with new releases of those games right now, unless they totally change. Like, you know, they're not going to eliminate these brands. These are huge gaming brands, right? And I think it's actually hurting esports in a way because of it. And it's tough because it's really hard to change something like that. And that's why Riot, you know, with just one game, even though, you know, there are a lot of issues with League of Legends, but at least it's, you know, they have one game, they can focus on it, and they can, you know, just build it as an esport. You know, they're in a different boat than Blizzard. Blizzard's success, like previous successes, actually makes it harder for them.
Yeah, but you know, and people are saying in the chat exactly what Ben said, and that is that since 2.0, the game has just felt empty. The community, it just feels empty. You just feel a disconnect when you're playing the game, and you don't feel part of the community. And I think there are a lot of things that Blizzard could be doing right now that would not only extend the life of StarCraft 2, but might revive it and get more players playing. I mean, a ladder is one thing, but God, a ladder it's a ladder. I mean, it's meant for scrimming, you know.
And it's a grind too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Kevin makes a really awesome point about the daily tournaments. That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What if you could play in a daily tournament and win 100 ladder points?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, or I know the letters are tiered and everything, but what if you could? I don't know. What if there was the ladders were set into groups of 20 and there were standings, and you could move up a ladder even within your own tier, and just different things that you could do to give it that competitive feel that would keep a lot of players around that just want to compete.
Yeah, this is a really good point. Sorry, John. Just like want to say something real quick. I've argued a lot back then with a couple of the Blizzard guys in Europe when I said that I didn't like the way that they approached the new ladder, and I liked the Warcraft 3 with the level ranking a lot more. And then they said like, no, because what would you rather be? Would you rather be like level 5 and be rank 100,000, or would you rather be top 8 in your bronze division? I say, well, I would rather be rank 100,000 because then if I go up to being like rank 50,000, means that I got better than 50,000 other people, which makes me feel good. But I could still understand that point, and I could sort of live with it. But I feel that they really handled it wrong, because what is really the sense in being top 5 or top 6 or top 8 master or top 25 master for that matter, when there are like freaking 1,000 divisions or something? Like, it means absolutely nothing. It's so stupid.
To me, the way it's set up is like the epitome of this kind of new age, everybody wins mentality.
Dumbing it down, kind of.
Back in my day, you know, say whatever happened to, you know, when you get pissed off, you fight, and when you do something wrong, you get, you know, your parents kick your ass, you know, versus
yeah, instead of timeouts, you mean?
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had a lot to do with, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I think it had a lot to do with WoW, and a lot of things they did in WoW to really appeal to the masses, and, you know, they did a lot of things that were psychologically made people stay in the game and feel good about it, and unfortunately, StarCraft isn't that type of game, and they kind of tried to apply it here, but the funny thing is like the divisions is actually still a good idea. Like Kevin, like you were talking about the whole ranking system in Warcraft, have like the first top 10,000 or top 5,000 be like masters, right? Or, you know, just kind of separate them into tiers that way, you know, like global rankings, and then, you know, they already have this kind of segregation, so they could create their own tournaments, you know, based on. That's what I thought they were originally going to do, having all these divisions. I thought they were going to create like, you know, bronze tournaments and silver tournaments and platinum tournaments, but that's just never come into fruition. And yeah, so I think that would be a pretty cool thing if they did that.
Like it's just too unclear on the top. I can understand it for maybe like diamond or gold, but it's really frustrating that Master League has like 1,000 divisions. And
yeah,
Grandmaster is a fucking joke too. It's like you've got 100 million Master Leagues and then one GM League that you get into it at the beginning of the season, and then you're good. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And the problem is as well is that the GM is not actually top 200. It's literally a top 80 with 80 guys having 3 accounts,
Exactly.
or like 40 Koreans being GM on an A, and it's just silly.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I think a lot of some of it, for me at least, because of my own personal opinions about it, but some of it has to do with the fact that they're just simply using an ELO system. So it's all just based on ELO. I mean, there doesn't, to me, that doesn't foster competition. I mean, you're just literally grinding it out to try to get this high ELO, and it's great. ELO's nice, you know, you can use it to give yourself some sort of, you know, skill tier, but there's so many other things that they could be doing to kind of get people more involved with what they're doing with laddering and leaderboards and rankings and all sorts of different things that they could be doing. I think that would help.
I agree, and I think the ELO is pretty weird in general. Like I've seen really weird things in the past where I, as non-GM player, would be slightly favored against the guy who's top 2 GM. Like, how does that even make sense? Right. He is in a league higher than me. He's like the second highest player in Europe, and I'm slightly favored. And then you end up losing 14 points against one of the best players in Europe.
Yeah, we got Beastie Cutie in our house, and yesterday he played a game against a kid in Bronze League. How the fuck does that happen? He's number 2 North American Grandmaster.
It's because it's black box, man. If they were just, you know, if they would just make it a little more transparent, it would be a lot better. Yeah, I saw that. Wasn't there a screenshot on that, Ben? I think I saw that screenshot somewhere of Beastie's screen.
Maybe put it on Reddit.
Exactly. I don't know. All right, guys. I don't know. What do you think? Q&A? Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. Viewers are watching. We're gonna start Q&A, and the way you do it, guys, is add me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV, and when you add me, type in your question, and we will pull you on in this call. If you don't have Skype, go ahead and type in your question in the stream chat, and we'll answer it. One last call for the giveaway. I know my mods have been spamming it in the stream chat this whole time, but we're doing a giveaway today, guys, on this Theron mouse, this TTE Sports Theron mouse. Big thanks to TTE for doing this giveaway with us and for all you viewers. And the way you enter it, guys, is to subscribe to youtube.com/ChanmanV, and that's where all the bots for the shows are. And you'll be entered in the drawing, and we'll pick somebody randomly from all the new subscribers at the end of the show. Alright, see if anybody's added here. Any questions, guys? Come on. No questions yet. I always forget to ask them until we start this segment. Yeah. It's like so bad. Gosh.
Somebody messaged me on Skype kind of with a question. Could you bring up the point at being just bringing up the point that the StarCraft 2, what if the case is for StarCraft 2 that there's just more people watching than playing, simply because, you know, like in real sports, I watch a lot of soccer. I mean, I play, but I'm not going to play at that level. But there's a lot of people that just watch because they enjoy the sport of it, or they enjoy the game.
Yesterday, me and the guys in the Razor House went out to a local park. We were going to play some basketball, but instead we ended up playing soccer and a little pickup game with about 6, 7, 8 guys that were just out there. They asked us if we wanted to play, so we played soccer for a couple hours. Those guys are not professional soccer players. They don't play on a team. They don't go home and play on the soccer ladder. Just something that they do on a weekend. If StarCraft 2 doesn't have that kind of thing happening in it, if there's not people that are just casually playing on the side in mass, then that's a problem, you know. You know, soccer or any sport, you know, might be watched on a huge level, but it's also played on a huge level. So I mean, we don't have that right now. It's not a comparison we can make.
Right. Okay.
All right, here's a question. No mic. Everybody seems to not have the mic. Jeez. It says Too Good spoke about a player union today on his Too Good show. I would be interested to see what you guys think about a union like G7 for Counter-Strike for the SCT players.
I've seen this whole G7 thing work before, and I feel that the community is not big enough yet. You can like form a G6 or G7 with the biggest esport teams, but as soon as one team feels that the other team is somehow breaking the rules, or just like that they're getting a bigger slice of the pie, then everything just goes wrong. I mean, I guess John Clark remembers the situation very well with back then with Get Right and this whole Fnatic and SK Gaming deal, and both of them were in the G6 or in the G5, and then they are just like arguing over some player. I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Yeah, and I don't think we're organized enough for it.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much waving around of the penis, I think, for teams and organizations and stuff, that we're not ready to be completely organized to that point yet. I'd love to see it, but I just don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, eventually in the future, it's probably going to be necessary, but maybe way down in the future.
I mean, I'd be curious to see what Too Good said, considering he's been around this situation a long time as well.
Too Good's a smart guy, and he's got a lot of really good ideas.
Yeah, he does.
And things like player unions. He's also talked about caster unions. And
Can I be the philosopher like Dinosaur right now? In which one would I be?
You could be part of both.
It's a fine idea, but you have to have, like you guys already said, you have to have a large enough community to support it. Because if you do something like start a player union and say we're not gonna play unless we get this amount of pay, and then all the top players join that, then all of a sudden,
other guys,
then what the fuck happens to our community? It's like, okay, well, top 200 players no longer want to play. Let's go. Come on, Kev, let's go cast some diamond games.
That's true.
Yeah, I think there could be a lot of problems with unions without it being organized and without our community being ready for it. I think there could be a lot more problems than there could be anything that could help us.
Like the problem is right now, that would be maybe like if you're gonna play a union, then you probably also get like some sort of like a tournament hosting a union. You're gonna get 4 or 5 really big organizations who all think they should have the final call, and I don't think that a lot of players or a lot of organizations are really willing to make sacrifices yet on behalf of others, because everybody is still like really fighting for their own spot in the community, for their own place in the scene. Same goes for players. Like some players feel that they deserve more, some players feel that other players deserve less, and if you're gonna get a player union, you have to get everybody on even terms, which I think is gonna be very tough.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, look, here's a question. Here's a question about, this kind of might be a little controversial, but that's what we do. So, you know, a lot of the whole, a lot of, I guess, bad talk, hate talk on Reddit about the whole Last Shadow thing this past weekend on the Red Bull tournament. Basically, what are your thoughts on that, guys? Like on
can you just give? I caught bits and pieces of it. Can you give a quick overview of what happened?
I mean, a quick overview is that a lot of people were wondering why Last Shadow got invited to the Red Bull tournament.
Okay, that one I know. Yeah.
I think he was a last-minute ad, right? And you know, just to be honest, he's not even close to the caliber of players that were at the tournament. So, you know, a lot of people were just wondering why, and, you know, everybody was basically making claims that he was Day9's friend, that's why he made it in. I don't know. I guess I just, you know, I asked it just to see what you guys' opinion of it was.
Well, in regards to why he made it in, you know what? It's Day9's call, right? I mean, if he wants him in the tournament, he can be in the tournament. You know, people are going to complain. People are always going to complain about at least 1 or 2 people that are in an event, always. Yeah. Until that person surprises you or does something crazy, but people are always going to complain. I guess my concern was how he handled his losses, from what I understand. To me, that was just concerning. And then, of course, it's concerning the way the community treated it. I mean, it's Day9's event. If he wants to invite, if he wants to invite me to come play, which I played like literally 20 minutes of StarCraft. That's his decision, right? I guess I don't really see a problem with it.
Ben?
I don't know, man. Last Shadow's a polarizing figure, and I don't want to say something that's going to get me burned.
Cool.
I was told, I heard that he was invited not because he's a great player, but because he had no way of getting home, and it was kind of a charity thing. Hey, we'll fly you out here back home from Korea, and you can play in our tournament.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't hear that
I
either.
didn't know that.
No, I mean, there's lots of rumors, so I mean, I guess maybe the thing would be to find out exactly why. That's interesting.
You'll never find out exactly why.
No,
I think that.
you're right.
Like, if I would say something, I don't think like inviting him was like a big deal, because why not give a chance to someone who's been training for a long time in Korea? I mean, he did have a decent MLG finish back then. He's been training for a very long time in Korea. If you ask me, like before the tournament, do you think he's gonna do good? I didn't think so, because I think he's a good player, but I definitely don't think he stands out in the foreign scene. And if I would have to say, there's like a lot of just discussion about Les Shadow going on the side, like not so much about his tournament performance, but how he is. And I've never met the guy, so I can't really say too much. But when I was in IEM Sao Paulo in Brazil, I saw him play a practice game. Like Snoot was playing, and he played Les Shadow, and Les Shadow came over as really arrogant and cocky, like saying, "Oh, this is how you play. I've lost all hope in foreignness when people like you are even playing like this." And I got so tired of these guys who moved to Korea and they stay there for a week, and everything is so much better there, and you learn so much, and the rest of the world sucks, and blah blah blah. Like, I get so tired of it. I mean, I think we all know that the Koreans are the best players, and I am sure that you can get the best practice in Korea, but please don't act like the rest of the world can play StarCraft when you have never dominated your own local scene. I think that's like one of the dumbest things around.
Well, we had Desro on, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And he enlightened us to the fact that going over to Korea, you know, even for 5 months doesn't make you any better. It's really all about you and how you want to do it. I mean, look what, again, we seem to bring it up every time, but look what Violet did by, you know, sitting in North America and playing in North American servers.
Look at Violet, look at Stefano, look at Musafon.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys that. I'm not gonna rant. I always make this fucking rant. Korea's not way better than the rest of us. It's a goddamn joke.
I agree.
I agree, dude.
No, I mean, it's safe to say that I'm sure they have the best practice environment in Korea and stuff, and I agree with everything like that. But this whole like, this guy might be a Code A level player. Nah, he's not even a Code A, but this guy is a Code S level. It's so like, it's full of bullshit if you ask me, because it's so extremely random. Of course, there are like 10-15 Koreans who are Code S, and they are really super good, and they are sort of like, they won't be there like 8 out of 10 seasons because they are that good, or let's say 6 out of 7 because it lasts for quite a while. But like, it's funny that you bring up Desro and that he said that, because I had a small argument with him not too long ago when he was like sending me a few games. I was wondering how he was doing, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got this build order, and it will always work unless it's a Code A Terran or Code S." And I was like, and that's so bullshit. There's like really no such thing, because I will let you play right now against a couple of my European friends, and we'll see how good your strategy works, you know. I really don't think there's some sort of invisible ranking to determine how good players are.
That's good.
Let's see. Okay, let's see. Where?
I see plenty of questions.
Yeah, why don't you go ask? There's a bunch in Skype that are so.
This is interesting. There's a couple of them.
Oops.
This one is, how do you think the popularity of streaming, I mean, because this will go kind of in what you guys do too as casters, but how do you think the popularity of streaming has changed esports, and do you see it as a pro or con for the community? Examples, Destiny or Fiascos, you know, which was caught on streaming, especially with respect to sponsors and broader involvement.
Yeah, streaming has made esports, guys. It's the most important thing that's ever happened to this industry. If a player wants to say something fucking stupid and ruin himself, then that's on him. But streaming is like, it is our broadcast medium. It's the biggest thing that we have going for us.
Yeah, I mean, had we had streaming 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when Quake and CS were at their, at the height of things, I just can only imagine how awesome it would have been. I could dream. Of course.
For me, I mean, it's definitely. I would definitely say it did a lot of good to our community because it reached so many more people, and it also gives always people the chance to watch competitive StarCraft whenever they do. There's always someone out there streaming who's a high-level player. So in that case, it's awesome. If I would say there's like one con, is that like I was a Warcraft 3 player and we didn't have that many tournaments. We had a few, but we didn't have that many. And then we had one really big online league. I mean, we had a Zotac in the weekend, but that was irrelevant. And then we had the WC3L. And the WC3L was your only chance in the week to see Grubby play, to see Moon play, to see Sky play, to see Todd play. And everybody was looking forward to that next clan war of 4 Kings to see what the players prepared, how they are playing these days, because you didn't know them that well. You might see all the previous games, but you never know what they're going to do a week from now. And the most you're going to see is like people are all going to download those single tree replays because that was the only way of information. And now it's just always out there, which kind of it loses a little bit of mystery because now we always know how good someone is doing, how he's playing, because we can watch him. And I kind of like to be a little bit in the dark, that you actually have to tune in for that competitive clan war to watch someone play his games. But that's the only con. I mean, it doesn't outweigh the pros, of course, because streaming has done so much for the community and also for all the players.
At the same time, though, like look how much slower the metagame evolved back then, like in Warcraft 3 or in Brood War. Strategies didn't develop until after you saw that televised game. Now the metagame is constantly changing. I can tune in and watch Stefan. Well, say that I'm Stefano's next opponent, and I tune in and watch what he does on his. Stefano's a bad example because we all know what he's going to do and he's just going to win anyway. But I say I tune in, I watch him play. I say this is what he's going to do. This is the timing I'm going to exploit, and I've got something prepared for him tomorrow after I watch him play today. It's sped up everything, and it's raised the relative skill level of everybody else in the community. So, like Kev said, there's pros and cons. And
I mean, it's mostly pros, but there's this one, like, maybe I'm like sentimental here and old-fashioned, but I don't know, I just love to tune in once a week to see my favorite players play, and I was very curious, and I was very happy when new replays were out, because for 4 or 5 seasons on the row, and that's like a time span of almost 3 years, I can guarantee you guys I watched every single org replay that got ever played in WC3L, because it was like the only way to get information, and it was awesome. I mean, for me, like, instead of my favorite TV show on Sunday night being Game of Thrones, WC3L was my favorite thing, because I could watch my favorite org players play again, and of course I was one of my favorite org players as well, so I was always downloading my own replays.
Just think about
certainly when I won.
Think about how much more quickly like Blade Master would have become the most played champion after it was patched. Like champion? It wasn't like an overnight
champion
hero.
Can we get this guy out of this cast?
but you know what I mean? Like it wasn't an overnight switch.
It's true. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, there were the times of coming up with an awesome strategy, and
Kevin might have been a top player for more than a year. He would have been able to transition.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, overall it's better, but I do miss the days where you could theory craft something that's completely brand new and not have it be you can only use it once, basically. And it's all over the world. It's all over the internet, all the world, and people are doing it the next day. I kind of miss those days, but everything else is worth it.
And some of the cons are that it's an open forum, so there's a lot of things that can be done and said to the public that can actually hurt. I hate using that expression, but can actually hurt esports or hurt our direction or our growth, just because it is open. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can do on here that are definitely questionable.
Yeah. Here's a question: is the ultimate goal of esports to be broadcasted on like TV on a channel like ESPN, or do you think in the future the better platform will be more of an online streaming site like Twitch?
For my opinion, is online.
Obviously it's online. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, most people watch HBO now on their iPads or on their computers or things like that. ESPN is on my phone.
Does anybody watching this podcast watch Game of Thrones on TV? Honestly,
I don't hardly watch TV.
No.
I don't have a TV.
Yeah, exactly. We don't even own a TV, and I watch The Office and Family Guy and South Park and all of this stuff. I watch it all online.
Exactly.
And that's the way TVs are going. I mean, they're going more internet ready. It's most of your stuff is going to come from, you know, most of what you watch is going to come directly from what people are doing in the internet. I mean, there's been entire television shows that have stopped broadcasting on television and have ported everything over to the internet.
Yeah.
The internet is such a revolution that, like, I won't even watch a show if the season's not over yet because I don't want to have to wait for next week. It's just fucking dumb.
It's true.
Right. So you wait to get the whole thing all at once and just sit down for 5 hours.
And don't have to watch commercials.
Right. The diaper and a cooler full of drinks.
A diaper and
No,
a
sorry,
cooler
that's my
full of
drink.
drinks. That's a dream. Okay.
Sit in the diaper all day for 12 hours and play video games. And
Dude, we're not that far from there.
That sounds just awful.
I know, some people have probably done that already, I'm sure.
I just see John like in 30 years in a nursing home. It's in his diaper. Just
He's like, yes, I finally made it.
Awesome. Well, I guess nobody wants to call in, man. What is up today? I mean, it's okay. Kevin, what's your favorite food? I'm having to resort to these.
Favorite
Really?
food?
What's your favorite food? There's so many better questions than that.
TGI baby back ribs.
TGI.
Dumbest answer ever.
What the hell? What are you bringing them to, Ben? You're saying TGIF.
I have
Holy
never
shit.
voluntarily taken.
TGIF are good.
TGI Friday is a fucking joke of a restaurant. It's just Kevin is convinced that it's fine American dining. Like I think his mind has actually changed since he's been here and like, has lived here in the States. But he still says it just because he knows it makes me mad.
Right.
Well, Applebee's is better. Take him to Applebee's, Ben.
Applebee's.
Applebee's.
John.
You guys, man.
mean, of course, it's sarcasm. Holy cow! Every time I try to, my wife and I are like, okay, let's try it one more time. We'll just give it one more chance.
Applebee's is so bad. It's like
Pull cats up.
microwave plate.
But the commercials make it look so good. You're like, damn, that actually looks good. Try it one more time. Nope, doesn't work.
I mean, we had cats on here talking about Taco Cabana. I mean, jeez, guys, what's going on? All right, we're gonna take this call. We got a caller finally. It's gotta take any caller at this point. So hold your breath. It's a good decent question. Hey, Chris, what's up? Welcome to Climbing the Ladder.
Hey, could you guys see like a Blizzard? Oh, could you guys see a Blizzard implementing a in-game tournament, like system in HOTS?
Yeah, I think they were talking about that. I think they sort of announced that. They didn't really release any details on it, but I think they know that how important that would be for the community. They know it would be awesome. They know that we want it, and I think it will be there.
I don't think they announced it. I think that was just our drunk friend that used to work at Blizzard shouting off.
Well, he's pretty legit, man. He keeps.
I don't know, man. He
Our
kind of
drunk
thinks
friend.
charge lots are the best unit in the game.
Charge lots are counted to every unit in the game. If you ask him, he was in the Blizzard.
Guys, I beat David Kim and I only made charge lots. It's like you facepalm at the fact that that's what he says, and you facepalm at the fact that David Kim lost to just charge lots.
That's awesome. All right, Chris, thanks for the call.
All right, thank you.
All right, we got JoJo next. JoJo's a regular. Let me see what it looks like in this. It sucks. Damn.
Hi guys.
Hey JoJo, what's up?
Hi, Jojo.
Hey, my question's actually a bit of a follow-up to the stream question earlier. You know, there was a bit of trouble with things said on stream, etc. And you talked about, you know, how that can affect esports in a way. Wouldn't it be a good idea to have something like a certain penalty implemented by teams? Let's say if you say something racist on stream, you get fined $100, and that way the team can distance themselves from that action, and it can be done really quickly. You know, I mean, that's implemented in a lot of you know, sports like football, basketball, etc.
You would think that the teams have code of conducts.
Exactly.
I think that's already kind of happening, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, we had Orb get fired, and Destiny. Yeah. I don't know if Quantic took any action. Well, yeah, he left Quantic.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, I can't think of any other instances offhand, but teams are very hard on players that screw up. I know that EG has fined players in the past. and that's something that, you know, one of the quickest ways to get somebody's attention is to cut into that income.
I think organizations need to do the same. And I bring up ESL because there was in kind of in the beginnings of StarCraft as a major esport, I guess, in North America at least. There was an issue with IDRA. I don't know if you guys say IDRA or IDRA, but ESL, you know, ESL has a pretty good penalty system in place. I think that other organizations need to do the same things with finding players that I would literally kick a player out of a tournament if he forfeited his last group match because he thought it meant nothing. That's my personal opinion. But
that's a really dangerous thing to do, though.
I
don't disagree with you. Like, I'm a carry a big stick kind of guy. Like I like that. But at the same day, or I'm sorry, at the same time, you really need the players, right? And there's a risk of, I don't know. It's tough.
I've had it happen before where a player said, you know, I'm not going to play my last match, and this was at IM New York 2 years ago. And for me, it was like, you know, you just talk to him and say, you know, this is important. This is important for the integrity of the event. You know, I understand it doesn't mean anything, but, you know, let's finish this out. Had that person not done that or forfeited the last match, IM actually would have fined him a portion of his money. But you're right. I would rather him play the match.
Yeah.
Than have to find them, remove them. My personal thing is I just can't stand people that decide they're just not going to.
There's also been instances in the past, like especially in tournaments with group stages, because this is one of the most easily exploitable formats, of like players saying, "All right, I'm through my group. I'm gonna throw this next game so that my teammate can get through too." Stuff like that happens more than people would probably like to realize, and I think a better solution is just a better group format.
Yeah,
like something that
I was just about to say that. I feel like you're right. I mean, I agree with you, John. Like, you know, everybody should have, you know, at least enough professional integrity, right, to finish things out and play it professionally. But, you know, why put them even in that situation, right? The tournament format doesn't have to. I mean, you can make your tournament format however you want. And
you fix that by rewarding somebody for being first place or something like that, so that way every game counts.
You can add money to the group stages. You know, add money to every match. IM's done that. There's lots of different things. One thing you should definitely do, and I'm just going to say it, we're going to do this at the Gigabyte Land. Well, the first thing is you need to have transparency in your format. These large organizations always announce their groups. And everyone's like, okay, great. You know, this person's in Group A. This person, how did they get in those groups? That's the first problem. The second thing is you want to be careful in announcing your brackets and how players get to the positions in their brackets, because you don't want that situation to happen, Ben, where a player's like, well, I'm already in, and if I blow this match, then my teammate gets in.
Or if I blow this match, then I don't have to play against so and so who randomly wound up in second. You know. Right.
So what we're doing, and just for anyone that cares, is we've already given our bracket methodology to Team Liquid and ESFI, and then once the group stages are in the last round, then we'll announce the bracket methodology. This way it will avoid any situation like that for players. So you're right, there's a lot of things that organizations can do better, but it's still, the players still need to be accountable for some of their actions, I think.
I just like rewarding guys. I like it, like if you're gonna have a group stage, I like it that the first place guy can choose who he plays against. That's something that I think is really cool. But that's just
it's definitely interesting.
It's something that I've been like talking about for a year now. And Kevin rolls his eyes every time I say it. He's like, "It's stupid."
I rolled my eyes too. Just
Fuck you, John. Fuck you both.
I mean, it is a way to incent people to finish first, right? Finish as high as they can possibly finish. So we kind of understand the reasoning behind it.
I mean, we've had to deal with this in like real sports for 100 years as well. And of course, in every now and then there's going to be a rare case where it would be better to finish second than first, because in soccer you don't want to face Brazil straight away, or even though they're not that good anymore, like you don't want to face Spain. So hey, maybe I lose my last game, and then, well, they might be able to prove it, they might not be able to prove it, but it's a very rare case. And I really don't think that like, oh, if you finish first, you can choose whoever you want to play. I mean, it adds a little bit of drama to the tournament, but it doesn't add any professionalism, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I agree.
Everybody has to beat everybody else at the end of the day. So
No, that's not.
Well,
That's
that's
not
not true though, because
No.
if you lose, you could give yourself a better chance to win the tournament in the end, right? I mean, there's a lot of that going on in all sports, right? It's just like Kevin was saying. It's you can understand it when it's like I can. It's more acceptable for me when they're doing it for themselves. You know, like there's a reason they're doing it for themselves. Just to position them better. It hurts the, it just hurts the organization that's trying to, make money from viewers and that kind of thing.
Regarding about like forfeiting a last group game or something, I really don't understand how some players can do that. I feel the same way as John about that. That I think that's really like absolutely a no-go. It's really disrespectful towards the tournament. But I didn't even understand it as player of my own. Like there's been a lot of tournaments where I entered the group stage and I was like maybe 1-2 and I was as good as out because it was obvious those other two guys were going to win their first two games, but I would never give up. I mean, I feel much better about myself if I finish the tournament with a 3-2 record than if I go out with 1-5 and or 1-4. I don't understand why other guys don't always feel the same about it. I really think it has a lot to do with the fact that everything became so normal. Like back in the days, now I sound like an old man, but back in my time it was always very exciting to go to a tournament. Everybody felt privileged to be able to be in the position that we were in. We didn't earn a lot of money, but we got flown around. We competed in awesome tournaments, we went to awesome cities, and everybody was happy to be there. And now I feel that it's very money based, like everybody goes to a tournament mostly to make money. Of course, like there are a ton of guys who just do it out of passion and out of fun as well, but some people I just feel they got a little bit spoiled by like, oh, if I don't get paid for this, then it makes no sense to do this. And it was definitely different back in the old days.
Yep, I totally agree.
All right, JJ.
The old days, I love that. The old days.
The old days, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Well, for a lot of people watching this, StarCraft 2 is the only esport they know, and it's only 2 years old.
Right.
So
I mean, stuff like that is true in sports too. Like, Americans love to say that they prefer watching college sports over professional sports because there's you still have the passion. The college guys aren't getting paid; they're playing for love of the game. And that's kind of what Kevin's describing.
Yeah. All right. How about 2 more here? Cool.
Are you taking calls, or do you have another question?
I'm taking calls.
Okay.
People decide to call now. Last minute, and then we'll do the giveaways right after this, guys. Last minute for giveaways, guys. Subscribe. YouTube.com/ChanmanV.
I do have somebody that says they know Rotterdam for a long time.
Okay, sure.
Camille.
Yeah, Camille's next. Camille's been asking a million questions, so
yeah,
you're
yeah,
next, buddy. Or is she a guy or girl? Whatever. We'll see.
Camille's a guy.
Okay.
He used to work for ESL as well, and he did a lot for the Dutch or the Benelux esports scene, like Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. He's always been hosting a lot of things.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, he's asked a few good questions. So.
He's been around for as long as me, or actually maybe even longer. He hosted a few ESWC qualifiers in my country. We went to Paris a few times.
Camille.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to Climbing the Ladder.
Hey. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Awesome.
Hey, I got a question. Hi, Rotterdam.
Hey, man.
I got a question regarding. Yeah, sorry. Regarding the game, because at the start of the discussion, you guys were discussing like StarCraft 2 is going down, but from my point of view, I think it's part of the model how StarCraft 2 is being released by Blizzard. It's part of the model that it's always been into gaming. It's like the game gets released and it goes down over time. It happened to any game. It happened to a part of the free-to-play, which is starting low and going up. But you guys were blaming Battle.net like for partially for it going down. But do you think maybe it's the game that's not that good enough compared to the CS, the Quake, the Warcraft 3 that stayed up for such a long time before it always went down from the start? But do you think maybe it's the game that's not that good?
No, I don't think so. I think it really has a lot to do with that feeling of community. I mean, one of the reasons Quake was so successful was because from the very beginning everyone could be a part of its success. whether you were making maps or running events, just competing, making new mods, whatever it may be. And I think there's something about that that's missing in StarCraft 2. And like Ben pointed out, his feeling was that since it went to 2 point, you just didn't have that connection anymore. And I think
fair,
go ahead.
it might not be a question for the right guys, because we all have like careers built around StarCraft 2. Like I love StarCraft 2. I played more than 100 games this week.
Yeah.
I love it as well. I'm just thinking that the world, I think, it has changed, and the diehards, of course, they might love it, but the casuals, which is the overall mass, is just another game.
I actually
and those
like.
are the people we have to keep. Those are the people that we have to cater to more. I mean, if it's always about catering to the ones, the top 1% that make money, then that whole base underneath of it falls out and just falls away, and goes and finds something else, and then you don't have something from the bottom holding it up and growing it.
Yeah, but like with CS or Warcraft 3, there was even less content out there, everything was less, and somehow it managed to stay up there. Well, like these days, StarCraft 2 is benefiting from so much experience, from so much organizations that made themselves big with CS, or mainly CS and Quake before that, and somehow it's still failing, although there's so much more. Like, I mean, it's uncomparable how much more there is. There's even too much. So you can say, yeah, okay, we have to cater the base, etc., etc., and we need Battle.net. But 10 years ago, 5 years ago, there was nothing that was catering that base, or that it was all being done from the community and from your like on your own.
I mean, you raise a good point. The popularity of those games was gameplay driven, whereas maybe the popularity of StarCraft is a bit content driven.
Yeah,
But
I definitely don't think it's a case of the game not being good enough. It's actually that was something I was worried about when it was just released, and I was watching the first tournaments even before I casted myself, and I was like, really, there's so much hype about this game. I see two guys sitting in their base, build up a big army, everything dies in 2 seconds, and that's it. Then actually I was kind of worried about the future of StarCraft 2, because I thought, like, I don't really see this becoming all that big. But I think over the last few months we've had so many absolutely awesome tournaments that I think this game is just getting better and better. I mean, what Ben and me always love to talk about is Lone Star Clash. Anyone who watched those games between Stefano and Paul, that was just freaking fantastic. Like, how can you not love that? So the game is definitely good enough, and I mean the recent GSL finals is freaking amazing too. So I think the game is easily good enough.
You're talking about watching the game, and I'm not. I'm talking about playing the game.
Yeah,
I mean, watching the game is I think there's never been any esports game or game that is that good watchable as StarCraft 2. I mean, I always rate games by like how many players you have in total and how many viewers you have on a stream. People say that League of Legends is big or anything, but it's just as bad as World of Warcraft. And I don't mean it's a bad game. It can be good. It's just, I mean, if you have 30 million accounts and you have 200,000 viewers, it's just like World of Warcraft. You just have a lot of accounts which generate a few hits, and with StarCraft 2 you have maybe 1 million account and almost equal amount of views for League of Legends. So I'm not discussing the spectator point of view, which is, I think, amazing for StarCraft 2.
I think it goes in the same line, how good a game is watchable and how good you can play it. If we show the people how amazing this game can be to watch, then obviously that means that they can sort of play this on the same level, and that brings back to the problem we had before. People can't compete on their own level, because it's either you compete in an MLG open bracket and obviously you get destroyed, or you play in a Zotalk and you run into Nurcho or BC and you get destroyed. People can't play these friendly Battle.net ladders, because the Battle.net ladder back then, like those automated Battle.net tournaments, they were so smart that if you start off with 3-0, you play against someone with 3-0. But if you start off playing the tournament, everybody had 7 or 8 qualification games. If you start off as 0-4, you play against someone who's 0-4, and then eventually you end up winning. So let's say right now people would go 2-5. maybe if they keep playing, they're gonna be 3-4, and if in a little while they're gonna be 4-3. Before you know it, they get close to 5-2 or 6-1, and they will qualify once for that bracket of the automated tournament, which means absolutely nothing to a pro player, but means the world to an amateur player. That's gonna be like one of their coolest moments. Hell, I remember the first time I ever got into the top 16 of that tournament, and I played against SK Dominator, who wasn't even that good, but back then I thought he was the best player in the world because I was gonna play against him, and I was telling everybody that I played this pro gamer, and it's just
there were so many games that didn't have automated, like CS, it didn't have anything.
Yeah, but that's a different time.
And for example, Painkiller was amazing to watch. It was terrible to play. I mean, there's more examples out there that, I feel StarCraft 2 is getting to the numbers are 10 times larger, but the world is 10 times larger in gaming terms and streaming, etc. But I feel StarCraft 2 is slowly falling into this Painkiller or Warcraft 3 at the end of times, where you have this group of guys that are playing, and it's amazing to watch, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the cast and everything. It just, yeah, it goes pretty down. Like the amount of players playing actually the game and not watching, it's just going down that rapidly, and I might think it's the game.
I mean, Camille, do you play StarCraft 2?
Yeah, I play it.
Do you like it?
I love it, yeah. But I don't have that much time, and I don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You know,
I'm a diehard guy. I'm not the casual guy. I just watch the numbers of.
No, but you kind of summed it up right there. I mean, it's a time issue, right? And you know, a lot of people when games first come out, you're willing to spend the hours to play StarCraft 2. But now, you know, a lot of people are willing to play like Bejeweled on their phone for like 30 seconds, you know, or a minute. You know, stuff like that wasn't. You know what I mean? There's just other things to. You know, StarCraft 2 is a great game. It's just there's just a lot of different options now, you know, for your time, and that doesn't make it any less of a, you know, that doesn't make it a worse game. I mean, it's definitely.
No.
You know.
I mean, in Warcraft 3, this was sort of the case already as well. Like, there were always a lot of people on Battle.net, but they were in Battle.net to chat with their clan mates and idle and join some custom games, just so they would watch other people play. They were not actually always playing themselves. But right now, it's just a whole different time. Right now, if you go on Team Liquid, there are 20 streams you can watch. Back then, there was nothing to watch. So, of course, you're going to go on Battle.net, and of course, you're going to play some games with your friends. It's just, you can't compare the two.
Yeah, it's not only that, like Battle.net, you know, there's not very many people that go on Battle.net to socialize, right?
No, back then they were.
But do you think, like, Battle.net would be the tool that everyone dreams about? That with the Heart of the Swarm, we will see, after 1 year of Heart of the Swarm, we'll be at the double of the viewers we are today, or the players, and not viewers.
Pretty much. If they do everything right. If they do it how we want it, if they do it how I want it, then I think they're gonna do it really, really well.
Okay, I think it's just part of the model how StarCraft 2 is released. It's a release, then and any game, and Steam statistics page is the most amazing page that you want to see how it works. You see the game gets released, whether it's called Diablo, StarCraft 2, anything. After 6 months, it's like the first few weeks it's bigger than CS, and after 2 months it's nowhere to be seen. And that happens for the past 5 years since that page has been online. That's how it works. And I think I don't see it happening. I don't see it changing with Battle.net. I don't see it changing with Heart of the Swarm. I see it getting better. It's just how this model works, and I hope it's gonna be good enough, and there's gonna be enough. Like Heart of the Swarms and the Pros expansions and whatever expansions there are going to be more out there to just keep it going. But I don't think we'll ever peak as high as maybe we're going to peak this year or the next year, and that will be it.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm well, but that's just like, yeah.
No, it could, you could be right. I mean, but let's hope you're not, though, man.
They should make it free to play.
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting experiment. Maybe when Heart of the Swarm is released, they can make Wings of Liberty free to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
nobody's gonna be playing Wings of Liberty.
That would help, actually.
I think free to play is the most the best model for esports, and it fits the best. It means you start off low with low amount of players, and you need content that's playable all over again, because you can't invest in playing content that's unique every time. So esports is the best model, and you need to update and patch it and get new features every week, every month. That's why League of Legends is that big, etc. I think, yeah, you know, the former CEO of Turtle Entertainment, you guys, Kevin and Ben knows him, and he gave a hell of a presentation about how free-to-play fits esports. And I think that's the future of esports, and not in the type of way that Blizzard is working with their old, rusty model. But this is my opinion.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I don't disagree either. All right, Camille, thanks for the question.
No problem, man. Have a good time.
All right, later.
See you later.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it for Q&A. Let's do our giveaway. All right, Kevin, pick a number between 1 and 70.
8.
8. All right, and we are picking to see who wins this TT Esports Theron mouse, and it's going to be. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's going to be Remedies UK. Remedies UK is a brand new owner of a TT Esports Theron mouse, and a big thanks to TT Esports for doing this giveaway for you guys. And just so everybody can take something away, here's some promo codes too. For you can buy some TT Esports gear on newegg.com. Just so you guys, can buy some cheap gear. So I'll give
if
you.
You guys don't want cheap gear, you should go check out RazorZone.com.
Exactly. Exactly. So.
I'm wearing SteelSeries headsets. Do I get anything out of that?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
I like it. It's good stuff. All that stuff is good.
Exactly.
You're gonna support esports. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Every company, every manufacturer that supports esports and the teams and tournaments are all good. Okay. Why don't we do shout-outs? Kevin, you want to start?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. It was fun.
Of course.
Even though it would be nice if you guys could schedule it next time at like 4 p.m.
When you're awake.
No, it was really fun, so thanks for having me. If you guys want to follow me, make sure to check me out on twitter.com/Rotterdam08 or facebook.com/Rotti08, so ROTTI08. And check out my stream. I've been streaming a lot. I've been owning noobs, so it's fun. Nah, just kidding. I've been the one who's getting owned, but it's cool. Twitch.tv.com/Rotterdam08.
I'll let you know about the caster tournament. We're dead serious about it too. It's like 8 casters getting together for a little single elimination bracket. So I'll let you know about it.
I'm that serious for some free money too.
He's gonna be kicking. He's gonna be kicking some ass here, man.
Fighty pose.
Wow.
If Ben beats you, Kevin, oh man, that's gonna be. You're never gonna hear the end of that one.
Man,
if Ben beats me, I will just go to Mexico and stay there for the rest of my life.
And if I'm casting it, it'll be all over the VODs too. You'll never hear the end of it.
No, I will never see the internet again. So. Nah, Ben is actually pretty good. If someone would beat me, I don't know who you guys have in mind, but I guess unless you invite guys like Size StarCraft, who's actually like really good, I guess, then if someone is gonna beat me, it would probably be Ben. I don't really know who else.
I have right now. I have on the list of people to talk to is Day9, Tasteless, Toast, Colaris, Rotterdam, Bitter, and Gwen.
Yeah, then I think Ben. I mean, Artosis.
Yeah.
I think Artosis used to be very good, but I think it's almost impossible for Artosis to still play really a lot. The guy is so extremely busy, he flies around the world, and he has a family to take care of. Like, I would have no idea how to manage that and play on the same time. But I have seen him play a lot in the past. He's pretty good, but I think right now I would be better.
Yeah, please invite Wolf and have him play against Kevin round 1.
Yeah, that would be very nice. You would do me a huge favor.
Well, I'll get a bigger list from you guys because I'm sure some of these guys are not going to be able to do it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure of that too.
Yeah, I know Day9 said he wants to play, but wanting to play and actually doing it are two different things. So we'll see.
Oh, that would be really awesome. You get yourself a ton of viewers if Day9 would play. I would be really happy to see him play. Not only because I would like to play against him, because I think I would win. But even if I wouldn't win, I'm still very happy to see Day9 play, because I mean he's such a prominent figure in our esports, and everybody thinks he's good. So why can't we watch him play? I would love to see him play as a fanboy myself.
Yeah. I think if we did it for charity and had an incentive for the casters, doing it for charity, I think kind of takes a little pressure off of the fact that for some of these guys, like for Day9, I mean, if he loses, he's gonna get some slack from people, because he claims to be pretty darn good, and so I know a lot of these guys might take that personally, but we don't want that to happen. So we're gonna try to get him to play. We'll see.
It would be awesome. I would be excited as a fan and player.
I think it would be great, but I have to say I'd have to root for Ben now. He's my coach. He's my old-time coach, man. If you guys don't know, like, I used to take lessons from Ben back in the day.
Wow, what a ripoff.
What a ripoff.
I can't believe you still talk with him. Did he ever give you the money back?
Man. It's all good. That's why he's on the show now, man.
Oh, okay.
It's networking back in the day, right?
He took your advice before you ever said it, Ben. He was just putting himself out there.
It just goes to show, man. Not only am I a great teacher, my students are the best as well.
Alright. John, you wanna any shout outs?
Shout outs to all of you guys, actually, and then to everyone tuning in. I'm trying to get up to 50 followers on Twitter, so you can follow me.
Oh my, come on!
Are
really?
you fucking kidding? We'll fix
that
right
now,
here we go. John.
Everybody follow.
It's a joke, actually. It's like 300, but it's still pretty weak. I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy, so it's not that important to me, but it is a good way to network if you want to hear my opinions on things. Let's see. Shout out to the guys at CyberSource Network and continuing to do what we do as far as running events. We will definitely be a presence at the Gigabyte LAN that happens after MLG Anaheim. It's what you would call a mid-tier event or a mid-level event, but we hope to put up some good stuff for people. It's definitely going to be different. There's going to be a lot of different things about this event. So holy cow, it worked. My phone's going crazy. You guys are following me. I was joking.
Oh, is that what it is? All right. I like
my
it.
phone. It's letting me know people follow me.
Like it.
So, all right, that's pretty much all I got.
Cool. All right, Ben, you're up.
Shout out to Rotti for coming on the show. Shout out to you, Chris, for everything that you do. Thanks so much. Shout out to John for only having 50 followers. When you said that, I checked and I actually wasn't following him. So
actually, shit. Let me double check that I am too.
It's alright. I just started following Otter.
Shit. Let me make sure I am too. That'd be so bad if I'm not. Oh, I'm following you. There you go. See, you now you know who your real friends are, man.
Please follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/MrBitterTV. Please follow the Razer Academy. We'll be posting some content this week as soon as Razer sends me the graphics that I requested. If you're watching, Andrew, get off your ass and send me my graphics.
Yeah, Andrew.
And,
I'm pretty excited about that, Ben. To be honest with you, I really am excited to see what you guys are doing at that house. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we should try to make it a fairly irregular update kind of thing in this show, just to get updates from you. It'd be at least give you a good, a good channel just to keep us posted on it.
Be sure to check out Roddy when he streams. It's Twitch TV/Rotterdam08. Yeah, awesome. Kev?
Yeah, it's right there. You can see it. It's on the overlay.
He needs all those viewers so he can make all that YouTube money.
All that YouTube money. What money, man? But, all right, guys. Yeah, big thanks to Kevin and David for being on earlier. Appreciate him just even checking in for even 20 minutes or so that he was on here. And of course, as always, John and Ben for co-hosting with me. Always love having you guys on and having a good time, fun show. And I think the only thing is, follow me on @ChanmanV. Thanks to all the viewers and the people that that entered the giveaway and subscribed to the YouTube channel. That's where all the VODs are for the show, and the VOD for the show will be up on YouTube.com/ChanmanV also. Let's see what's next. Thursday Pro Corner. Check it out. It's a special show. John, hopefully a certain someone will be appearing on that show. We'll see. I'll announce it soon. But it should be a great one if all things go.
Now I'm curious.
Is
John gonna get coached?
No.
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 God.
No.
Who would watch that? I could
Exactly.
barely get 50 followers on Twitter. Who's gonna watch me get coached?
Ben, I need to get you on sometime again. Relive the old days, man.
Oh man.
Hey, before you quit, why do I always forget this? Well, one, I forgot today was Tuesday, and I almost missed the show. But tonight, CSN has their All Stars show match, and it's Liquid TLO versus MVP Tails at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Good stuff.
Oh, cool.
So
that should be good. So
TLO
hopefully we're not competing with too much.
The guy that's casting that is going to be casting some replays from my guys here in the house.
Who's casting? Promise. It's Promise and
Axel and Promise.
Promise.
Oh, Promise.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's been sending his resume out and stuff, doing the hard work.
Yeah,
just like you said.
He's a good guy. Wow.
Ben sending replays out. He thinks I'm not good enough to cast him. Wow, man.
Really? Would you like to do some free work for me, Kev? I can do some replays.
Free work.
Oh, not anymore. I would have done it before, but...
I mean, I would have asked you, but
you fool me once, but don't fool me twice.
I'm gonna see a shoe flying from one side of the room.
I'm busy, but you're twice as busy as I am, so I mean...
Exactly. But alright guys, we're gonna call it a show. Thanks for tuning in to Climbing the Ladder, and we will see you next week. Later.
Thanks, guys.